what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Real beast. Your history.
Discussions in this show should not be construed as specific recommendations or investment advice. Always consult with your investment professional before making important investment decisions. And now, Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Good morning, financial knowledge seekers. Welcome to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I am your host, Emma Folks, and my superpower is taking things that are happening on Washington and on Wall Street, chewing it up, spinning it back out so that you on Main Street can understand what's going on in the world around us. A lot of crazy stuff going on this week, but the main things that you're going to need to worry about and be focused on have to do with our dollar. That's right, the almighty dollar. There's some stuff that's going to be happening with it, and I want you to understand what the White House is saying when they're talking about strengthening and also about weakening the dollar, because it is going to be important to you. We're also going to dig into Adrienne Peterson, NFL football player who's $100 million in debt. Yeah, that's right, $100 million in debt. Can't even understand that. But there was this article that was released this past week in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and it had to do with Atlanta being the black, educated, middle-class black Mecca, and whether or not that's a myth. And, you know, per this article, and we're going to kind of dig into this in another show, because as I started peeling the layers back on this, looks like the joblessness rate for African Americans in the city of Atlanta, in the Mecca, black Mecca of the country, is about 15% compared to about 3% of our white counterparts. So it looks like for the African Americans in the Atlanta area, we are still in a recession. That's right. So if you're trying to figure out why you're not making more money, there's a good reason for that. So we're going to have to rethink what we think about whether it's Chocolate City, D.C. or Chocolate City, Atlanta, but it's not for everyone. The article was also talking about a young man who had his degree, I think in finance from University of Virginia, and then he had a master's from UGA, which, you know, here in Atlanta, that's a pretty big deal, right? If you can get into UGA, that's a pretty big deal. Should have been a guaranteed job, but we'll kind of dig into that a little bit on a upcoming show. Now, I've got to say a special thank you to Tanya Blanchard from Madison Chase Madison Brokerage, Madison Chase Brokerage, and also Madison. Had a great event this week at this wine place over by Pond City Market. And it was an event where a mortgage broker brought together a room full of estate planning, or real estate attorneys, realtors, and everybody in the real estate world, brought them together in the same room to just have conversations about how to better help clients, how to better help consumers, and also how to better help themselves prepare for an upcoming recession if it's coming, but things they need to do around retirement planning and just overall wealth building. So anytime there's a person out there that's looking out for people, not only how they can better help their customers, help their clients, but also how they can better help themselves and, you know, create a legacy for the family, it just builds a special place in my heart. So shout out to Faith, to everybody that's tied to Tanya's team. You know, thank you for making me feel welcomed and wonderful. We do have a special guest in the studio with us today, David Shavzin. He's going to be talking to us later on about management consulting. That's right. And what you need to do to add value to your business, to grow your business, and eventually get ready to sell your business. That's right, because you should always be thinking about that exit strategy. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's in 300 seconds. We are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. You are in the studio with the hostess with the mostest, Emma Folks, certified financial planner. That's right. I'm the ish, all right, subject matter expert. And the subject I'm about to talk to you about is really important. But I want you to know how you can watch me. So you should be on Facebook. Type in Sensation Station Network, like it, and then you should be able to see us live in the studio. That's right. It is a great opportunity to get to know Emma Folks in the flesh, because everybody wants to work with me according to words on the streets. So listen, you're listening to us on ssnatl.com, and today's show we are going to have a lot of topics that you're going to want to take part in the conversation. So when you do go on Facebook and you're on Sensation Station Network's page, you should see us live. Go ahead and drop your comments in the section, and we will read them. If they are PG-13, we will read them on air. Or can they text us today, producer? Yes, you can text us today at 678-613-5857. If you don't want people to know who you are and or you're asking for a friend, go ahead and text that to us. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, just search for Emma Knows Money or Financial Renaissance. All right. Now, this week, our president was talking about, there's been a lot of rumors between the White House and the Treasury Department about strengthening and weakening the dollar, right? What the heck does that mean, and why should you care? You should care because it means a lot to you. So in terms of strengthening the dollar, a strengthened dollar means that when we go to other countries, like if we go to Europe, that means that the dollar should be valued more than another currency. Years ago, I think it was probably 10 years ago when you used to go to Europe, the dollar was worth more than the euro? Was that how it was? It was up there, right. So we love going to other countries because things that they had was on sale a little bit. But when they weaken the dollar, it has a different effect on us. That means that if we go to other countries, say Europe, the euro will be worth more than the dollar. So a dollar could be worth $1 and a euro would be worth $1.50 or $1.50, so we'll actually pay more. So why is this important to you? Because it has to do with goods. The United States is the world's bank, right? So other countries, they park their money in our treasury bonds. You've heard of T-bills, T-notes, etc., and they pay a certain interest rate. So the whole world, including China, deposits their money with us because, like, in Game of Thrones, like the Lannisters always pay their debts, so does the United States of America. So people want our bonds, our treasuries. So when more people want our treasuries, the value of our dollar grows, okay, because it's a supply and demand thing. More people that want it, less of them that are available. But if the White House weakens the dollar, this is what you need to be thinking about. You're going to pay more money for imported goods. Now, if you are buying an imported car, that imported car is going to cost you more. If you are in manufacturing and part of the manufacturing that you do, you have to buy imported goods or imported components, manufacturing costs are also going to go up. Now, if you are a manufacturer or someone who exports goods outside of the country, then that's a positive for you because they'll have, since our dollar will be weaker, they can afford more of your product. So those are the people that are going to be impacted by the strengthening or the weakening of the dollar, okay? So, again, if you are thinking about in terms of hiring, I think as a business owner, if the dollar's weakened, you may not be thinking about hiring more people. The other thing to consider is that if the dollar does become weakened, it may also result in layoffs, okay? Because a weakened dollar is going to possibly not let people buy as much as they normally would. So you're going to have to think about it in that sense that it may be a trigger for a recession. Now, the White House or the Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin, or Director of the Treasury, he said that they don't want to weaken the dollar. They are standing firm that they want to keep the dollar strengthened because it just helps the world's perception of us, and perception is everything. They want to make sure that everybody else around the world globally wants to invest their money or park their money in our treasury bonds, so they don't want our dollar to be weakened. The president is saying something different. We don't know if he's saying it to just kind of rattle people a little bit or if he's doing it to just kind of get a pulse of what's going on in the world. But just letting you know, if the dollar ends up weakening, it is going to cost us here on Main Street a little bit more money. Do you do anything with, I see you taking notes over there? No?
Notes.
You are taking notes? So now, if you want to know how treasuries work, let me just do the quick and dirty on it. So treasury bills, as I mentioned, when we're talking about recession watch, I'll do a 10-year treasury, 2-year treasury watch. So the 10-year treasury, let's say it's at 2.5%. For people to park their money, that's the interest rate that they're going to get. But if our dollar gets weakened, then that 2.5% is going to go down, and people are not going to want to buy it. So the treasury notes are sold on a secondary market and other people go out there and buy it, etc. So a treasury note that's sold for $10,000 can either be bought for a little bit less or a little bit more on the open market. Investors will go out and buy it, and then they trade it and sell it to other people. So if you've got big dollars and you're looking for a safe place to park cash, our treasuries may be a good place for you. Now, another thing to consider when it comes to the interest rates, if our interest rates get lower, when we hear about the Federal Reserve talking about lowering rates, you may also feel that in your bank account. So when you hear talk about the dollar, the strengthening and the weakening, there's a couple of points on Main Street where it's going to hit you. It may hit you at the job. They may cut hours. They may, lay people off. And also it's going to hit you in your bank account because lower interest rates and things of that nature are going to lower the rates that you have in your bank accounts. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Adrienne Peterson and whether or not he is a financial deep, or if it were the people that he hired. And then we're going to have my top 5 news stories of the week, and then my M&O's money. We're going to be looking at what you need to do before you send your kids off to college when we come back in 250 seconds.
And so a new American industry has been born.
Sensation Station Network.
And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. You are watching us live on Facebook at Sensation Station Network. Again, remember to go ahead and like the show. Throw a comment in like, hey, I'm listening, so the producers know I'm just not talking to my mom and my dad, because people don't think that people like to listen to me, even though everybody wants to work with me. Again, if you want to comment on the show, go ahead and drop your comments on the Facebook comment section, or you can text us. That's right, old-fashioned text. If you still got a two-way pager, go on and text us at 678-613-5857. Coming up, we're going to have David Shavzin, management consultant with the value track. That's right. But first, let's talk about Adrienne Peterson, because this is one of those stories that I know we're going to have further commentary about. And it's one of those sad cases, yet another sad case of a NFL superstar who made, boatloads of money, made over $100 million, but it looks like he owes over $1 million in debt, according to his lawyer. He's been named in 2 lawsuits, one for $2.4 million, and then the other for, boatloads of money. Now, the issue with this is it sounds like a typical story of an athlete that got a lot of money, that bought a lot of houses, bought a lot of jewelry, bought a lot of cars, had a huge entourage, mothers, missing fathers, missing family members, and everybody else who decided to show up when the athlete made a lot of money. But this is not a normal case. Adrienne Peterson actually had a team of advisors. That's right. When I heard the story and I read the statement by Adrienne Peterson's lawyer, Chase Carlson, he said, the truth behind Adrienne Peterson's current financial situation is more than being reported at the time. Because of ongoing legal matters, I'm unable to go into detail, but I will say this is yet another situation of an athlete trusting the wrong people and being taken advantage by those that he trusted. And this time, we are not talking about family and friends. We are talking about people that he hired, that he entrusted with his millions. We always scold and laugh and make all types of negative comments about athletes not doing the right things with their money. Here's a situation where this athlete did do the right thing. He looked for professional help. And as I started, I have a staff person that helps me with research, Morgan Castillo, and she started digging, peeling back the layers, and she found, the full court case of, Adrienne Peterson owing about almost $7 million to a car, or a kind of a car dealership, if you will. But then one of the things that caught my attention were the number of the big banks that were involved in this case. And I'm talking Wells Fargo, BB&T, ThriveLink, or just these specialty funding banks that deal with athletes and entertainers and provide special provisions for them. Again, he did everything he was supposed to. One of the banks, however, that he was involved with, and we found this really, really interesting, one of the banks, the former CEO, Peter Dahl, from Crown Bank, he's being sued for $2.8 million, and he's also being accused of conducting a Ponzi scheme. So again, what are athletes supposed to do, and is this a situation where the NFL needs to step in? And the reason why I say the NFL may need to step in is because, again, they put certain people in front of these athletes. And if you are representing the National Football League, if you are representing sports agents, if you are representing certified financial planners, FINRA, the Securities and Exchange Commission, other agencies, I think this is a situation where the NFL should, really look in and dig back and find out what happened, what went wrong, as well as the United States government. It's not fair to swindle people out of their money. And like most football players, Adrienne Peterson was in trouble for doing, I guess he beat his kids and they called it child abuse, etc. Not here to judge anybody. But what I will say about a lot of football players, we don't give them credit for the fact that they're out there, week in, week out, getting their brains banged around. And if you have somebody that's getting their brains banged around a little bit, you can't expect them to act like a normal citizen, a normal human. They have something else going on. So in weeks to come, we are going to continue following this story. And as a matter of fact, during the break, we're going to drop some of the links so that you too can take a look at just some of the stuff that's happening with this case. And you can look at some of these companies. And if you know an athlete or an entertainer that is doing the right thing and working with, big name banks, big named financial services firms, things like that, ask them more questions. Call our office, Greenwood Wealth Management. We've got, a few representatives, advisors, and certified financial planners who can give you a second set of eyes and a second opinion to make sure that the things that you're doing and the people that you're working with are in your corner and have your best interests at heart. Unfortunately, sometimes people see, us coming. They'll see an athlete coming, an entertainer coming, a business person even coming, and they know that they don't know a lot about the financial world, and they'll just take advantage of it. So we want to make sure that that this doesn't happen. Very sorry for what's happening with Adrienne Peterson, but it's par for the course, and we'll see what we can do to get better at this. When we come back, we're going to have superstar management consultant, look at that smile, superstar management consultant David Shavzin. Maybe he'll speak a little French to us when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Station Network.
And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's, and I am so pleased today to have this special guest on the show. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting for him to make an appearance with me, and the stars have aligned, all the lights were green, and we were finally able to get him here. And the reason why I wanted David Shavzin here is when I have issues that come to business, when my clients have issues around business, moving forward, growing, things of that nature, selling, he is the person that I always call when I have questions, and whether or not he can answer them, he will know who can, and he will always find the answer. So welcome, David. So glad to have you here this morning.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I like the hair.
Oh, well, thank you.
You did something special for me?
Of course, yes.
He just told me to shave my head. he just literally
easier.
said, told me to shave my head.
Make it easier on camera.
Yeah, so we've known, I don't remember how we met. And I believe it was early one morning on a Friday.
Okay.
At a exit strategy event. Exit planning strategy event.
Maybe
yeah.
Succession planning. Maybe
succession
that's what it
planning
was.
strategy. That's right. So David, myself, and maybe about 10 other professionals that usually help out business owners. So CPAs, business brokers, management consultants. I mean, you name it. Would meet every Friday morning or once a month on a Friday morning at around 7 and just kind of talk about and share ideas and things that we can do for clients. 7 a.m. is just not my thing, but David and I stayed in contact, and we've polished off many a bottle of wine. We've watched our kids go through college in Illinois and have successfully gotten them just about off our payrolls. Correct? Is that safe to say?
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
I am close.
I've got more than you.
Yes. Well, I've got mine off the payroll.
No, I mean, I have 3. You have 1.
Yeah, I just have the 1, so
Yeah.
it's easier for me. So listen, David, the term consulting, I want to start with that, okay? Because the term consulting is so generic.
It is.
It's like car. You know, I drive car. What type of car do you drive? I drive Yugo. So what exactly is a consultant, and then what is a management consultant?
All right, so we'll get into that. We really need about 6 hours to do that, but I'll do that much briefer.
I need you to do it.
What I say for as a consultant, you're helping, you're providing advice, insights in some form or fashion, and that consultant term is can be generic. Management consultant, business coach, business advisor, those all get thrown around. So here's what I always tell people: don't worry about what that title is. If you're a business owner and you've got issues, challenges, you have some needs, you need some help with something, talk to some folks and focus more on the understanding that that person knows what you're talking about, how they might help, that they've helped people like that before, and the last thing, that there's a personal fit with the person, that you can get along well with them.
Yeah,
right?
You should. It's important to click, right?
Yeah,
because
it really
you have
is.
to know how the brain. Because business owners are unique animals. Would you, I mean, you're one too, but wouldn't you say?
We're all
like
unique in our. Yeah, we're all unique in our own. Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of times with business owners, we think our businesses are our babies. And so a person like David comes along and will tell you that your baby is ugly. You need someone who can gently tell you that your baby is ugly and how to make it pretty again. Is that a safe one?
Sure, I'll go with that. No, it is. It's, yeah.
You know, it's a painful thing for someone to say, like, yeah, you know what you're doing business-wise, you know, but as far as running a business, you're gosh awful. So, you know, tell us, number one, how did you get into this business, why you got into the business, and a little bit about your background and why people need to pay attention to what you have to say.
Okay, again, being brief with those 5 questions. So I started out, my career was early on banking, finance, worked for a large global corporation, did a lot of mergers and acquisitions work, which is analyzing businesses at the end of the day, understanding how they function, how they grow, and so on. Came away from my last corporate employer in 2000, so it's just hitting 19 years now. And just wanted to go out and help some of the smaller organizations do well, because most of those and most of the clients I deal with are privately held, which means that their whole life is in the business, and typically they're counting on the business for their whole retirement, and their family is counting on that. So it's a lot more fun. For me, it's a lot more rewarding, and you're really helping people. You're helping people, you know, and their families. Yeah.
Now, is there a difference between kind of the way the business owner mindset of business owners today versus pre the Great Recession?
The way I look at it, before the recession, everybody, not just business owners, we were all kind of fat and happy, and things were going well, right? And then because we do that, and it's normal, it's human nature, we tend to, you know, not pay as much attention to what we should, planning, all those basics, and the recession hit and just slammed us all, and pretty much every single business, you know, in my opinion. So the lesson learned was, first, people just kind of huddled in a corner for a while, and now they're digging out. And I think it seems to me, you know, the number of years we are out past recession right now, that I think a lot of business owners are slipping back into that.
Into old bad habits.
Old bad habits.
Yeah. When we come back, I want to go into the name of your business, the value track, why you named it the value track, and I also want to talk about just kind of the mentality of business owners kind of after being impacted by the recession, and where we are when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's and our special guest, David Shavzin. Before the break, we talked a little bit about the recession, and the reason why I want to bring this up is because I think we're seeing the same things happen. Human beings are so interesting. You know, during the recession or right after the recession, business owners were running around like they had post-traumatic stress disorder, like shell shock, PTSD, right? And now what are you seeing?
I see they're starting to, I think, get up on that path to being a little bit fat and happy again.
I call it stupidum.
Stupidum.
Yes,
yeah,
stupidum.
It's human nature dumb, I guess, and again, it's normal. So when we talk about the basics of business, and we'll get into what I'm doing now, the focus on the company name, talking about business value. So much of it is just basic blocking and tackling. It's just basic business. If we do the right things in our business day to day, we have a business plan and not get thrown around by either the highs or the lows in the recession, we'll be much better off.
Yeah, well, that's going to be a deeper conversation, because I'm seeing a lot of the same things that I saw before, and it's scaring me because a lot of these business owners don't have the time to handle another dip the way they handled the last time.
Yes.
You know, tell me about the name of your business.
The name of the business is The Value Track, and that came about over those 19 years, just to kind of distilling down what I've seen with so many businesses, business owners, clients, prospective clients, just all those interactions, where I really looked at and saw everybody doing a lot of the same, making a lot of the same mistakes, put it that way. Focusing on selling, which is great, we all do. Maybe it's the new products, maybe it's getting out and bringing in the revenue. But so many other things are not being focused on. And one of the big things is simply value. And so many of the business owners we come across don't really understand value in terms of working towards exit the sale, maximizing the value, what we call transferable value.
Yeah, it's usually because business owners are into the day-to-day, you know, and I think that's where you add a unique set of skills, is because as a business owner, we're focused on the day-to-day. We have to pay the bills. How do we do this? How do we do this? And it's hard because as a business owner, you have to work on 2 businesses, actually 3, I think. The one you were in now, the one that you hope to grow to be, and the one that you want to sell, right? And it has to happen all at the same time. And that's where you come in and help. When we come back from the break, what I'd like to do is for you to just dig into how most business owners have the same set of issues. Doesn't matter what your industry is, but it's all the same set of stuff. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Lots of people meet friends and potential love interests online through dating sites, social media, or mobile apps. It can be a great way to meet people, but not everyone is who they say they are online. In fact, scams related to online relationships are on the rise. It's a red flag if the person wants to move quickly to personal email or instant messaging to continue talking. Professors Love Quickly claims to be from the United States but is working or traveling abroad. Plans to visit but cancels at the last minute. Ask for money to deal with an emergency or ask you to open a bank account for them. Here are some things you can do. Cut off contact if you suspect a scam. Watch your wallet. Don't wire money, send cash, or put money on gift cards for someone you know only online. Learn more about online relationship scams at AARP.org/FraudWatchNetwork.
This is big business. This is the American West.
Station Network.
See ya.
And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Listen, today's show is one of those shows where if you know a business owner, you need to wake them up. You need to call them. I know we like to text. No, I need you to pick up the phone and call your friend, or just share the link with them on their page or at them, whatever, but they need to hear this information. In the studio today, we have management consultant David Shavzin. Over 19, let's just say 20 years. 20 sounds better than 19. Over 20 years of experience in helping businesses and business owners figure out the value and run efficiently, grow their businesses, and eventually sell their businesses. And before the break, we were talking about the recession. A lot of business owners, before the Great Recession, their retirement plan was their business. They weren't concerned with investing money. They didn't diversify away from their business. Their business was their baby, and they were going to sell their business for millions of dollars. And then the recession hit, and they found out that their business wasn't worth jack because they themselves were the business or some other reason. So let's talk about where we are, where business owners are, and how you, as a management consultant, can help people work on, adding value to their business or refining, I don't know what you do to cultivate value and growth and finally get that business owner prepared to sell.
So it's a great question, Emma. And we're going to start right with value. We're going to start with value because most people think their businesses are pretty valuable, but they don't understand value when we talk about transferable value. And that really is what a buyer is going to pay for, what they see as value.
So I have a business, and so no matter what I think the value of that business is, doesn't really amount to a hill of beans.
Yeah,
it matters what the seller, what the buyer is willing to pay for it.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And so internally, some of those common things are, I'm going to look and see how much the leadership team and staff are trained up right?
Oh.
If the business owner leaves, if I buy it from the business owner and the business owner's gone, what knowledge has just left the company? As an example, if I walk in the door, how do I know what to do? Are there written procedures as to what needs to happen? Are there not just customers and good revenue, but is that recurring revenue? So there's so many factors that drive what really is value from that buyer perspective.
Okay.
And we're not focusing on those things.
So value is more than just the business. It's also the employees, which you should treat right and pay right so that they stay so you can sell your business.
Treat them right, but educated and know the business, right?
That's a Chubb Rock
Training.
song, Treat Them Right. You don't know
Yeah.
that. Do you know
Yeah.
that? You
No, I
know
don't.
Chubb Rock?
No, I don't.
Okay, we'll have to play that. So now what about the growth and I know that as a business owner myself, growing is painful.
Growing can be very painful.
Yes.
So as we engage with our clients, we try to minimize the pain to some degree. We try to kind of, avoid certain pitfalls, but when things happen, we work through it. Everyone has pain in business.
Yeah, and as a business owner, I'm going to say this, and I am very, Trina, would you say I'm cheap, frugal, don't like to spend I don't like writing, all of the above. If there's a comma involved, I'm catching feelings, and I will try to do it myself, even if I'm up till 2 o'clock in the morning, because I was raised like that. You don't need to hire anybody. You can do that yourself, girl. That's the type of stuff I grew up with. Like, you don't hire anybody. But what I will tell you is, as a business owner, it is cheaper to take the L and stroke the checks and hire someone than it is to try to figure it out on your own because you think you're a genius, okay?
Exactly. And I'll take it a step further. It's hire not just someone, but you need a team around you, right? Business is complicated, so it's the things that I do with exit and succession planning, building value. It's what you do on the financial planning side. It's the marketing support. It's the attorney.
Yeah,
we need a team.
You need a team of professionals, and that's one of the things where me and my day life.
It's tough to write that check.
Right. I want to act like a quarterback, if you will, or a conductor, and make sure we've got our management consultant, our business attorney on deck, our estate planning attorney on deck, our CPA on deck, our certified financial planner, our business broker. Like, literally, there needs to be a team of people in a room talking about your business on an annual or biannual basis, period. It needs to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, how much time do we have before you send us to break? I'm good? All right, I'm good. So what about when business owners think about their value and the employees and things like that, do you ever talk to business owners about the amount that they're paying their employees?
Yes, I do. It comes into strategy, right? Especially with the ups and downs. You were talking about the economy earlier. Right? When we hit that recession, the first notion is to lay people off, cut salaries, all of that, right? What happens? You'll lose all those people, and when things do pick up, you have to rehire, retrain. It's really expensive. And so, if you can figure out a way to treat them well, retain them, pay them. We have one client who went through that recession, not only kept everybody and paid their full salaries, but did their normal annual increases because of the planning and forethought, right?
Oh.
They understood what's going on in the up and down life cycles of the economy.
So working with you is like, and I've been talking to everybody about the recession, working with someone like you will prepare a business owner for we know it's going to happen, right? We know what's happening. So working with someone like you will prepare us for it?
Yeah.
You'll teach us how to batten down the hatches?
Well, batten down the hatches, here's the more important point. We talk about when we're working with our clients, it's doing things every single day, every single year, whether the economy is up or down. If you're doing the right things along the way, the downs will be less problematic.
Yeah, business owners, and depending on, and I was going to ask you, and maybe when we come back from the break, to talk about, the B2B, the professional services, the different types of businesses, and how to maybe round things out or just kind of balance things out a little bit. We'll be back in 300 seconds. We're going to have David Shavzin, and then we're going to have my top 5 news stories of the week on Financial Renaissance with the M. And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Thank you for listening to us this morning on Sensation Station Network. You're listening to us live on ssnatl.com, and you're watching us on Facebook on Sensation Station Network. I want to thank Erica Wright and Hillary Thomas for listening to us this morning. And again, if you want to follow me on Twitter, IG, YouTube, Facebook, I think I'm on LinkedIn too. Emma Knows Money, my real government name on LinkedIn, Emma Folks. But definitely follow what I'm saying, week to week. We're here with David Shavzin, and we're talking about business owners and some of the things that business owners need to keep in mind. Now, again, I've been talking for weeks, months about the looming recession, and we do, as Americans, we know this one is coming. We got caught flat-footed the last time. Well, kind of, sort of. We thought it was going to be a market correction. We didn't realize it was going to drop as deep as it did, right? So this time now, what do we need to do? Like, let's say I'm a business owner. I am. And let's say I say, David, I want you in my office Monday morning. I do. What types of documents and paperwork, or what are, like, how, you know, is this going to be like a physical, like going to the proctologist where it's like, let me put that glove on, snap?
No.
No? Okay.
No. It's really easy.
It's not invasive?
It's not invasive.
Really?
No. It gets a little bit.
Financially invasive.
It gets a little bit financially
has to be.
invasive and personal.
But it has to be,
It
right?
has to be.
Right.
It has to be. The best advice we can give is only good if we know more information.
Right.
So, but the first thing, you know what, is really easy because it's just a conversation. We're just going to sit and talk and see what you're doing.
Like we're doing now?
How you're doing, just like we're doing now. How's the business going? What are your concerns? What's going well? What's not going well?
And
where do you want to go?
My vendors get on my nerves, David.
There you go. Talk about your vendors. How can we?
Horrible communication, David.
How do we improve that communication with your vendors then? Right? How do we? And where you're going is the most important thing, right? What are you doing with the business? Why are you doing this, right? And are you looking to get out at a certain point in time? Do you want to get to a certain point of value and sell?
Now, a lot of business owners, when you ask them, you know, they're so focused on today that it's very difficult for them to think about tomorrow. It's so difficult for them to think about not doing what they're doing today. How do you get a business owner? Like, do you take them on vacation somewhere to talk to them? Do you have conversations with them in the office? Do you have to take them out of the office? How do you get a business owner that has phones ringing, staff coming at them, clients coming at them? How do you get business owners to focus?
We go somewhere else. We get out of the office, and we try to focus a little bit.
So you do take them out of their normal element, right?
Ideally, try to get them away from that. Just sit back, relax, and talk. Just talk.
Sit back,
That's
relax.
where we start. Just
Oh, I like that.
Where are we? What's going on? And where are you headed?
So just kicking it. That's right. Now, what about the advisory team? We had mentioned that, you know, for a business owner, it is important, it is imperative that they have certain business professionals around them and that they build an advisory team. Talk to us a little bit about why that's important and, you know, things of that nature.
Yeah, you can use so many, you know, analogies. You know, look at a football team and all the different coaches. They're all doing different things.
You're talking to women. Oh, women know football now, but
okay,
go ahead.
Whatever you want. Baseball, golf, tennis. You know, any of the sport. You know, we can't do it all. We can't know. Nobody knows everything, and so you need the different advisors. And the world is so complex, so you really need. You've got issues around tax and financials and accounting and legal issues and regulation and all these things, along with just so many parts of the business. Most of us start a business. We don't know everything about sales and marketing, finance and HR and IT. So yeah, the broad business team is going to give you a much better solution. And it is going to give you a better value for that business.
Is there a book that you recommend that business owners should read?
Well, there's one coming that I'm working on. We can talk about that later, but it's about this whole process. There's one, especially for the younger business owners, not younger in age, but starting out.
Okay.
If they haven't had a business before, there's a great simple read. It's called The E-Myth Revisited, and it just talks through some of these basics about how to run the business towards that goal of selling, the value build.
I hate that book. You know why?
You're going to tell me. I don't know.
Yeah, I absolutely hate that book because it just showed me where all my inefficiencies. I felt inept when I was done because I realized what all my shortcomings were. Like, I'm a baker. I know how to bake bread really good, but anything else involved with the bakery, yeah.
Yeah. So you shouldn't feel inept. You should feel, there's the opportunities. That's what it is.
I should feel there's an opportunity.
It is.
But yeah, that book was an eye-opener for me.
Yeah.
Like, it literally changed how, I don't know if they've updated it since I first or second time I read it. But it is a good book for business owners to read. And then if a business owner is married, their spouse should read it too. And their team should read it too. Like, everybody needs to be involved in this, right?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it just builds the case to run your business really well in all facets and to work yourself out of the job, if you will, which again goes back to that transferable value. Maximize that sale price when you're ready to ready to leave.
Now, now, what about the growth piece? Every business owner, you ask them how things are going, what they want to do, what they're looking towards, and it's always, I want to grow, I want to take over the world, I want to this, I want to that. And is that always realistic? And is it okay to just kind of stay where you are? Is it okay not to grow?
It's okay not to grow, right? And that's a choice. Understanding the situation is really where it's at. Yeah, it's fine if you just want to stay where you are. You're good, and you're making enough money each year and all that. That's great. We call those more of a lifestyle company. But your other question, can we grow? Pretty much anybody can. It's just focusing. It's putting together a business plan, getting some of the advice. But it takes some effort. Take some investment, typically.
Do you help people put together the business plan, or is that something that they have to go do on their own? Should they have that before they come to you? Should they have their strategic plan and marketing plan before you?
Yeah, certainly can help them with it. And what I call a business plan is all those. It's all together,
Okay.
Strategy, marketing, et cetera. They should have had it when they started the business, and they should have had it the last year and the next year. If they don't, we certainly help them put it together.
So a business owner needs to update their business plan every year?
They need to take a look at it. It's not even updated. It should be on their desk. I always say it should be sitting on their desk, and it should have coffee stains. That means that they're referencing it. And a plan doesn't have to be 5,000 pages long either. It can be 3 pages.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what about a strategic plan? Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Instead of the business plan have on my desk?
It's all the same.
Oh, okay.
That's another thing people don't realize is if you just have a plan for your business, everything's in it.
Okay.
Whatever we call it, strategy, marketing, everything. It's just a plan.
Doesn't matter what it is. Just have a plan. And
Have
a
your
written plan.
written
Not in
business
your,
plan.
because we all have plans, right? A lot of
Exactly.
business owners have
Exactly.
plans. It's usually in
Yeah.
their dome. So have a written business plan. Now, is this something they should be sharing with their team?
They should not only be sharing it with their team, ideally they should be building it with their team and their team's input. Get them all engaged in it. Also, if you have business partners, obviously. But
Right.
yeah, everybody should be engaged in putting that plan together.
Okay, and following it. All right.
Yeah.
When we come back, we're going to talk about maximizing value. We're going to talk about family business and passing things down and things of that nature. And then my Emma Knows Money segment, we're going to be talking about what you should do right before you send your kids away to college. When we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Everybody successful lays a blueprint out. You laid the blueprint out. I stayed true to my dreams, and by doing that, eventually it came true.
A lot of times, it's like in life, right? Life brings like drama, and you got to deal with this person, and then funky relationship here, and all these things. You try and just kind of balance them out as best I can.
Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way.
Everybody wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. Unleash your beast. Write your history.
And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Katrina's in here talking to me, so I can't seem to keep my mind straight on what I'm supposed to do. She's so loud and noisy. I've got the best wifager in the world. She says absolutely nothing. She just sits there and looks at us. So listen, before we were back with David Shavzin, and we were talking about things that business owners need to keep in mind. And if you know a business owner, your parents may be business owners. And if your parents have a business, you need to have this conversation with them or let them see this show and figure out what needs to happen. What are the next steps? I had a situation once where I had some people, they asked me to come down to their office. They're in manufacturing, and they had a lifestyle business. And pre-recession, they thought that they were going to retire. They were going to live off of millions. Their business was going to generate tons of money. The recession crushed them. But they still had this business, and they were still working it. And the kids didn't know whether or not they were going to have to help their parents out, what was going to happen with the business. So let's talk a little bit about, kind of family businesses, or if the parents have a business, like what are things that people should be, sharing with their families around business ownership?
Wow, another
that was a
12
lot,
hours
right?
of another 12 hours of
He's
discussion.
just never satisfied. You're just never satisfied. Come on, man.
So many things. Starting at the top, I would say, the owners, if it's the parents or the mother, the dad, whatever it is, what we see too much is that they are not preparing. right? They don't have to take action, they execute right away, but they're not doing that plan for how things transition, because we all will leave our business one way, sometime, somehow, right? So especially for the baby boomers, they need to be planning and thinking as far ahead as they possibly can. They have less time, they got less flexibility, things happen. When it comes to the kids, two situations. When the kids are in the business and they're working and working and working, and the assumption is that they're going to take over the business, maybe not, but when that is the assumption, it's even more important for the parents at least to lay out a game plan for the quote-unquote kids. These kids, quote-unquote, could be 30, 40, 50 even, we see.
Yeah, we should just say young. I don't know, because kids still sounds like under 18.
Adult children
of.
Whatever we want to say.
Owner.
And here's the problem. The problem is typically, and it's a lot of what's going on for the parents and what they, in their heads and emotion, they've built this thing and so on. We've seen what I really think is, however old the adult children are, it doesn't matter, they can't possibly be ready yet. We see some of that. Or it's really, it's that emotional, well, if I design a plan, that means I'm getting older and I'm not where I used to be. So there's a lot of factors going on.
I call that Aretha Franklin mindset. I'm not going to write my will, because if I write my will, I'm going to die.
There, we got to get past that.
We need to get past that. This is not the old voodoo days, the old, witching days or whatever. Like, do your wills and get a succession plan put in place. It saves. If you don't love your family, don't get a will. Yeah. If you can't stand your family and you're a business owner, don't do a succession plan. Let them duke it out.
And it will. It's a mess. And not only when the parents, let's say pass on earlier than expected, these children, adult children in the businesses, we see over and over again, are so frustrated because they just don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on for their future.
Yeah.
Right?
And they don't know the deals. They don't know who owes money. They don't know if it was a handshake versus a contract. They don't know where the contracts are.
Yeah.
We can tell horror stories about what happens when business owners don't put their documents in place.
They're just,
right?
And they're just, and the kids are just waiting, and it's a nightmare when something happens all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So, and the value of the business, and this is the key thing, dissipates.
Yeah.
Right? Parents, something happens, it doesn't, there's transition doesn't happen.
And that's why having certain types of insurances are in place, business overhead insurance, to kind of keep your business afloat. Now, is that something that you bring up? Well, you and I have talked about this.
We definitely bring it up, and we try to do that, but sometimes it's difficult to get them to do that as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can be done.
Right.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we're going to wrap up with David Shavzin, and then we're going to jump into my top 5 news stories of the week when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's.
Sensation Station Network.
And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Thank you for being with us this Sunday morning on the Sensation Station Network. And we are back with David Shavzin talking about management consulting, the importance of business owners to actually reach out to professionals for help in managing their business. It is better, I have learned, to reach out for who you need before you need them. I have learned the hard way. Trust me, you don't want to build your business the way I've built mine. It has been full of trials, tribulations, and many speed bumps. Got a lot of lumps up underneath the hair. So, David, let's say someone has been listening to you, and like me, they're like, you know what, I know this guy, and there's a lot of people that know you. I need to call David. I need to figure out what it is that I need to do to get my business in order so that I'm prepared for the recession. And not only am I prepared for the recession, but I'm prepared to possibly take advantage financially during the recession. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
That's where I want to be.
Excellent. We'll work on that.
So we'll work on that. So how do people, if people want to reach out to you or get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
If they want to focus on building value, exit planning, and all of that, they can reach me at david@getonthevaluetrack.com. Call me at 770-329-5224. They can go to the website, getonthevaluetrack.com. They can see my blog. They can sign up for the newsletter. All kinds of ways to get information.
Will you speak French to me today?
I'll speak French to you today, sure. You mean right now?
Yeah, right now.
Que je te parle en français maintenant? Oh.
Oh, that's so good. David, thank you so much for being here today. I know you're going to get some calls. I know I'm going to have a ton of questions. just about, again, as a business owner, we're always so focused on today, and, working with someone like you will actually force us to remove ourselves from our day-to-day operations and focus on our business and not being in our business. And I think that that's going to be a great thing. So thanks for that, man.
Pleasure.
All right.
Thank you.
So let's talk about our market movers and losers. Do you know what a loser is, David?
I
All
do.
right. A loser is the is the opposite of winning. So let's talk about what's happening in the S&P 500. I can name all 5 of the top gainers this week because you know them all. Mattel, that's right, our toy company, was up almost over 13%. United Health Services, both shares of Google, Alphabet Class C and Alphabet Class A were up, as well as Starbucks. On our NASDAQ, Google was up, Starbucks was up, Pfizer and T-Mobile were up this week. NASDAQ decliners, Charter Communications. Now, our Dow Jones gainers were Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, United Health Group, Verizon, and Visa. Didn't we hear something about Verizon this week? No? We heard about a merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, but somehow Patrina, in telling me this, threw the word Verizon in there, so I don't think they're all 3 merging, but Trina's where they are. Now, as far as the Dow Jones losers, we had the Dow Inc., 3M, Chevron, Caterpillar, and Intel were all down this week. For our recession watch, Dow Jones closed at 27,192. The S&P 500 index closed up at 3,025, and NASDAQ closed at 3,330. All right. Our Dow Jones U.S. home buying construction index, we were down almost 1%. So, again, the home construction index is something that we're going to be looking at when we're thinking about the recession. When is home building going to slow down? When is home buying going to slow down? That is one of the signs and symptoms, as well as what's happening with our 10-year Treasury and our 2-year Treasury. We're waiting for an inversion, but that hasn't happened. So 10-year Treasury closed at 2.07 on Friday, and the 2-year Treasury closed at 1.86. So there's about a 20th% spread, less than a quarter, 20th% spread between the 10-year and the 2-year. When the 2-year and the 10-year invert, okay, that means that the 2-year Treasury will be worth more than the 10-year. We will be smack dab in the middle of a recession. And once again, they will not tell us we're in a recession until possibly a year from now, okay? Sneakerhead stocks. What's going on with Nike, Adidas, Puma, Under Armour, and Foot Locker all finished higher this week. The only one that didn't do well was Skechers. Skechers finished low at about $39.11. Our luxury retail markets, Barney's of New York, may be filing bankruptcy. That's right. Their flagship store on Madison Avenue rent went up. I think they were paying about $15 million a month, and the rent is going up to $30 million a month. So a lot of these major retailers, these high-end retailers, are trying to figure out what to do in our new world because everybody's buying stuff online. So closing out the week, we had Hennessy, Louis Vuitton, Moet. They're on the European market. They closed up at about €385. Ralph Lauren closed down. Tapestry Inc., which owns a ton of companies, they closed down as well. And Tiffany closed down. Estee Lauder and Hermes finished the week closing up. Now, Cannabis Watch, let's talk about some of these pot stocks. Aurora Cannabis, Cronus, and Canopy finished the week down. Tilray and GW Pharmaceuticals finished up. Now, what I will tell you about Tilray has acquired Smith & Sinclair to develop CBD-infused edibles. That's right. And when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's, we are going to jump into my top 5 news stories for the week. Lots of people meet friends and potential love interests online through dating sites, social media, or mobile apps. It can be a great way to meet people, but not everyone is who they say they are online. In fact, scams related to online relationships are on the rise. It's a red flag if the person wants to move quickly to personal email or instant messaging to continue talking. Professors Love Quickly claims to be from the United States but is working or traveling abroad. Plans to visit but cancels at the last minute. Ask for money to deal with an emergency or ask you to open a bank account for them. Here are some things you can do. Cut off contact if you suspect a scam. watch your wallet. Don't wire money, send cash, or put money on gift cards for someone you know only online. Learn more about online relationship scams at aarp.org/fraudwatchnetwork. And we're back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. It is time for my top 5 news stories for the week. You know, I gotta tell you, Facebook is like having a teenager, you know, and not just a teenager, but one of those teenagers that constantly gets in trouble at school. And every day that you come home, you want to know, what has said teenager done this time? Well, in the news, Facebook is building a cryptocurrency, you know, like Bitcoin and all those other things. And I don't know enough about it to explain it to you, but what I will say is Facebook has been in the news a lot. And the things that they've been in the news for isn't necessarily stuff that we're happy about, right? A lot of it has to do with giving up more information than they're supposed to and things of that nature. Well, Facebook is, they've created a subsidiary called Libra, all right? The name of the cryptocurrency is Libra, but Facebook has created a subsidiary called Libra, and along with 26 other for-profit and non-profit business entities like Lyft and Uber and a couple of banks and things like that, and I'll drop these names on our website. But there are no federal or state entities that are involved with this Libra cryptocurrency. Now, they have gotten some academic support from the University of Toronto's Creative Destruction Lab, and Facebook wants more involvement from the academic organizations, because academics, universities, colleges rely on funding from federal and state funding. And as we go into a recession or as the economy gets bad, that federal or state funding is going to dry up. Facebook is there. They want to help out. So that kind of causes me a little bit of something on the inside, because I'm not so sure that that's a good idea. Now, cryptocurrency is, money is considered crypto if there is no local central bank, and that's what this Libra is going to be. Now, Maxine Waters and the Finance Committee, they're asking Facebook to just kind of take a pause, take a few steps back until they figure out how this money is going to move forward. The 28 companies have stated that they are going to work hand in hand with the regulators. That's right. They know that they're going to be under scrutiny and being watched. Now, the Libra Association, which is what the conglomerate of 28 countries is called, just so that you know, they are headquartered in Switzerland, not the United States, as well as a lot of the other cryptocurrencies are headquartered in Switzerland. But for me, I want Facebook to have U.S. oversight, okay? So as far as Facebook and Libra go, I don't know that Facebook should have anything at all to do with cryptocurrency, because I can't trust that they're going to do the right things with our money. So, Mark Zuckerberg, you can go take 2 seats. Out here. All right. This story is I'm really, really proud of, and we'll get back to some teachers that are suing the United States government for loan forgiveness when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M's. Greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. Usual suspects, that's right. Talking about the United States government. Welcome back to Financial Renaissance with the M's. I'm your host, Emma Knows Money, the Emma folks. It's my government name. That's what they named me. You know, I was named after an old woman who got committed to an old age home because her kids wanted her money. My mother used to work in an old age, I think it was called Bronx State back in the day. And there was a woman, the rich people used to commit their elder relatives when they wanted their money. And my mom worked at this home, and this woman named Emma, who her family said was crazy, but she wasn't. She was really nice and sweet, and that's who she named me after. That's at least the story that she tells me. But let's talk about these usual suspects in our government, and teachers, and civil servants, and people that work for nonprofits that have student loan debt. And the government 10 years ago came out with a student loan forgiveness program. And they said, hey, if you make all of your payments, and you make them on time, and you make them for 10 years, at the end of the 10 years, we will forgive whatever's left, okay? And there have been people, over 1 million people have signed up to be part of this program. So teachers, nurses, firefighters, librarians, police officers, you name it. The people who don't make a lot of money but put their lives on the line. And I'm sorry, you couldn't pay me to be a teacher, okay? So if a teacher says, forgive my loans, your loans are forgiven. You don't have to ask for anything because you're doing the Lord's work right now. So these teachers, so here's a teacher named Debbie Baker. She was part of this loan forgiveness program. And she would call her student loan provider and make sure, like, hey, I'm making my payments. Am I on track? Yes, yes, you're part of the program. You're on track. Well, at the end of the 10-year period, when she wanted to get her loan forgiven, they told her that she had the wrong loan type. Okay? Hear this again. At the end of the 10-year period, she did everything she was supposed to do. They told her that they would not forgive her loans, excuse me, because she had the wrong loan type. They didn't tell her in the 5th year when she called, in the 6th year when she called, or the 7th year when she called. They told her at the end of the 10-year period. Now, the American Federation of Teachers Union is suing the United States government. And this is why lobbyists and unions are important to the American workers, okay, or the American people. Because sometimes we need a voice, and we need a voice that carries more weight than one single person. So the American Federation of Teachers is suing the United States government and asking them to honor their promise. Remember I said that 1 million people applied to take part of this student forgiveness, loan forgiveness program. Only 1% of the people that applied actually got their loans forgiven. And I think that's less than 1,000 people. So who is at the helm of this governmental agency? It's the Department of Education. Congress created the program, like I said, 10 years ago, and the Department of Education is not honoring the student loan forgiveness. And based on government reports and other investigations, they found that borrowers have had problems with receiving this loan forgiveness, and there's been a ton of bad information. Not only that, they've also found that the student loan providers have not been doing a good job keeping track of your payments. So if you've been making student loan payments, you want to make sure you're calling your loan service provider, making sure they know exactly how much you owe, how much you've paid, what your interest is, etc. So Congress has passed a temporary fix. Let's call it a Band-Aid. It's called the Temporary Expanded Public Student Loan Forgiveness, PSLF. And as of March 2019, they have only approved 3.6% of the applications that have been received. So what do if you are part of the student loan forgiveness program and you're having a hard time? Do what the government hates. Write, tweet, call your elected officials. Call your congressman, call your congresswoman, tweet to them at the Department of Education, at your congressman, at your congresswoman, or contact your union rep. But don't let this go away. If they promise you loan forgiveness, take it. All right, cutting the cord. So, as Americans, we've been talking about getting rid of cable, and I know my wife and I want to get rid of cable. Comcast, you're on the chopping block because you did the bait and switch with my wife in Best Buy. I don't like it. We're going to have to get rid of you. Now, cutting the cord used to sound really easy because there were a few major players in the market. There was Netflix, and then there was Hulu, and then, kind of Prime Video, whatever. But lately what's happened is a lot of people that provide content, they no longer want their stuff on Netflix. What they're doing is they're creating their own streaming services. So now we're going to have HBO Max, we're going to have Apple TV, we're going to have Disney Plus, we're going to have NBC Universal. So a lot of these, I love Netflix. So, I used to watch all my shows on Netflix, right? But all the Marvel shows are being pulled away from all the streaming services, and they will only be available on Disney. All of the NBC shows are being pulled away, and they're only going to be available on NBC Universal Streaming, or whatever the new name of this thing is going to be. And what about all the original content? So we don't know what to do. So it used to be cut the cord, get rid of cable, and you'll have a cheaper bill by signing up with Netflix and all these other ones, but now everybody's going to have their own streaming services. So it's just back to the drawing board again. We're back in the same position we were in 5 or 6 years ago, not knowing which service to use and not getting exactly what we want. So don't know what the solution for that is, but I got to tell you, not happy with TV and these streaming services. All right. Let's talk about how much time we got. Are we good? We good? All right, we're still good. Minimum wage. You want to know about this. Minimum wage. There is talk about raising the minimum wage nationally to $15 an hour, and it's long overdue. Minimum wage is one of those numbers that has not increased with inflation over time. The federal minimum wage amount, I believe, is $7.75 an hour. Right? That's nothing. I don't know how people survive. So the Congressional Budget Office, they're called CBO. They released a report, and here's what I have to say about their report. Garbage in, garbage out. And what this report gave us was garbage out. They came back with a mixed verdict. And you know our politicians are already fighting tooth and nail in Washington. You said this and you said that, acting like a bunch of teenagers or school kids. And right now they're bickering over these garbage results. So here's what the CBO garbage results say, that a $15 per hour minimum wage hike will boost the income of 17 million Americans. It will lift 1.3 million Americans out of poverty. However, by the year 2025, 1.3 million Americans may lose their job. They also gave a range on that job loss of between 1.3 million people and 3.7 million Americans may lose their job by 2025. So rightfully so, the Republicans, being conservative in nature, they're going to lock onto that 3.7 million Americans losing their jobs number, okay? And it is a number to be terrified of because this could happen within the next 5 years. So they latched onto that number and they're running with it saying, hey, we should not increase the minimum wage. But the Democrats are rejecting the CBO's findings in their report. And the main reason why they're rejecting it is because they're saying that the Congressional Budget Office ignored academic data which supports the wage increase. Okay, so you cannot come back with a report if you have not accepted all of the data. But what does America think about the minimum wage increase? 55% of Americans approve a $15 per hour minimum wage. 27% of Americans think the minimum wage should go up, but not to $15. And 14% of Americans think that the minimum wage should remain at $7.25. Boo to you, okay? Nobody can live off $7.25. But the American Economic Policy Institute, what they're saying is that lawmakers are ignoring key facts of the report, which is that the benefits of raising the minimum wage outweighs the costs. And in my opinion, in my humble opinion, if we act now, we can figure out how to replace those 1.3 million or 3.7 million jobs if we end up increasing the minimum wage. The CBO is also ignoring the new economist consensus. So the economists now feel that we need to raise the minimum wage. Even the Koch brothers, the Koch brother-funded Cato Institute supports increasing the minimum wage to $15 an hour. That's right. So what do? Reach out again to your elected officials. Tell them what you think they need to do. And when we come back, I'm going to tell you what we can do about the Equifax data breach and what you can do to get your money back from them, as well as M&O's money, when we come back on Financial Renaissance with the M. Lots of people meet friends and potential love interests online through dating sites, social media, or mobile apps. It can be a great way to meet people, but not everyone is who they say they are online. In fact, scams related to online relationships are on the rise. It's a red flag if the person wants to move quickly to personal email or instant messaging to continue talking. Professors Love Quickly claims to be from the United States but is working or traveling abroad. Plans to visit but cancels at the last minute. Ask for money to deal with an emergency or ask you to open a bank account for them. Here are some things you can do. Cut off contact if you suspect a scam. Watch your wallet. Don't wire money, send cash, or put money on gift cards for someone you know only online. Learn more about online relationship scams at AARP.org/FraudWatchNetwork. And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. Thank you so much for spending Sundays with us. And to finish up my top 5 stories, this one you want to hear. It's about Equifax. Equifax has reached a $700 million settlement with the United States government, with the Federal Trade Commission. And this $700 million is available for 147 million of you. That's right, 147 million consumers. If you signed up for credit monitoring after the data breach, you can get your money back. If you suffered any losses or damages as a result of the data breach, you can get up to $20,000 back from Equifax. And if you took measures after the data breach to protect your data from being hacked, you may also be able to file a claim. So you have until January 2020 to file, and we're going to drop the links on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram page at Emma Knows Money. Now, this segment of Emma Knows Money is brought to you by our voice in Washington, AARP. AARP has our backs. So it's July 28th, and it's time for parents to start getting their kids ready to send them off to college. I did this, I think it was 4 years ago. My wife and I, actually more than that, it was 2011. Man, time flies. So 2011, my wife and I sent our son away to college, and it was painful for me. Felt like somebody cut my right arm off, and I think I drank a little bit too much that, for a couple of months. And I also kept his bedroom door closed so that I would think that he was still in the house. But here's some things that you need to do for yourself and for you to get your young adult ready to leave your house. So number one, I want you to create a Google Cloud or some type of cloud-based storage repository. And you and your child both practice accessing it. And this is where you're going to put documents and important stuff that they're going to call you last minute and ask you for while you're at work and you don't have time to talk to them. Have your kids draft an email to themselves with details of where to find stuff. So, yeah, take yourself. As helicopter parents and drone parents, we do way too much for them. So have them make a list with details of what medications they need to take. My wife and I did this with our son, and didn't he still call us? Even though, yeah, we did a whole, we sent him to school with a box full of medications and a list of what you need to take and when you need to take it. It didn't matter. So make them draft the email, tell them what they need to do. The other important thing that you want to do is download a medical power of attorney or a healthcare directive, depending on the state that you live in, and also find out if your kid is going away, leaving the state to go to school, find out what documents that state respects or honors. And the reason why you want to do this is if your child over 18 gets into an accident or ends up in the hospital or has a mental breakdown, as their parent, without that form, without that medical power of attorney, the doctors cannot speak to you because your child is an adult. So you want to make sure you have that in place. The other thing you want to do is teach your kid about the differences of being in a rural area if they're going to school, not in a city and they're from the big city. Cops, emergency vehicles, things like that happen really fast when you live in a major city. 20 minutes, something happens, you can have the cops, ambulance, firefighters, EMTs there. But when you're in a rural area, things take a little bit longer. So if you get into a car accident, it could be 30 minutes to an hour before the ambulance, EMTs, and firefighters get to you. So your kids need to understand this when they're, if they're going to be driving to school and they're going to be in these areas driving around and may get into accidents and things like that. They need to understand small town policies. They need to understand about the culture of small towns and small town police as well. It's time to have these conversations with them, especially if you have young brown and black men. What you want to do if they're going away to school, the town that they're going to be in or the nearest closest city, you want to find an ambulance chasing attorney from the television set. Go to that town, watch TV, and you want to contact that office, that lawyer office, and find out if they have connects with local judges and prosecutors, especially if your kid is going to a PWI, which is a predominantly white institution. Even if your kid never commits a crime, but if they're accused of a crime, it could cost you about $10,000. And I say this because I watch what happened to some of the kids on my son's track team get accused by girls of doing certain things that didn't happen, but the parents still had to pay about $10,000. Now, let's talk about the documents that your kids need to have access to. So this may be the first time that they ever have to answer questions. So these are the documents you're going to want to make sure that they have. You're going to want to make sure they have and know how to use credit cards and debit cards. You're going to want to make sure you send them to school with their driver's license, their school ID, car registration, and insurance information. And these should also, copies of this stuff should also be put into that cloud-based storage. Health insurance card, they need to know what it is. Dental cards, vision cards, they need to know what all this stuff is, put it in their wallet. Copy of their birth certificate and social security card, copies should also be put in the cloud. Copies of their passport in case they need to leave the country. Emergency contact list, financial aid information, their monthly budget. Create a spreadsheet for them and help them figure out how much money to spend. And hey, if they spend all their money on that first weekend, too bad, they'll learn. On-campus account information, meal plans, everything that they need to know, their class schedules, put it in that cloud for them so that they have it. The more that you can do to make them be self-sufficient and independent, the better off it's going to be for the both of you. Because as a parent, we want to take care of our babies, and we're going to cry if they call and tell us that they can't find something or ran out of money. But we need them to become self-sufficient adults, and this is that first step. If you have any questions or tips, please go ahead and drop them in the comment section. That's my M&O's Money segment, sending these kids off to college. And we are back with Financial Renaissance with the M's. What a great show today. So much energy, so much fun, so many smiles. My face hurts. Listen, today we learned about the almighty dollar and why the threats from the White House to either weaken it or leave it strong should concern you. But always remember that anytime something happens with our money, whether it's, they weaken the dollar and it costs more for us to buy imports, and as a business owner, it costs more for you to buy products, imported products, to make whatever it is that you need to make. The flip side of that is there's always opportunities. No matter what's going on in the marketplace, think of it like a coin. There's always two sides of a coin. And anytime you feel things are going bad, somebody is benefiting from it. So you figure out yourself, when things are going bad, how do you come up? I want to say thank you to David Shavzin for being here, the Value Track, for helping business owners get themselves ready for the upcoming recession, figuring out how to grow their business, add value to their business, and then ultimately sell their business, whether it's while they're still alive or when they've passed away. But the value of your business is very important for you and for your legacy. Shout out to our listener, Michael McFadden. I appreciate you listening and taking time out of your Sunday to pay attention to what we have to say. And most importantly, I want everybody to walk away this week and share with others. For me on this show, it's each one teach one. You heard about the Equifax settlement. So if you know anyone that was affected by that data breach, tell them to come to to my social media, look at the links, or shoot us your email, and we'll send you the information. But go ahead and file for your compensation from the Equifax data breach. And then for student loan forgiveness, if you know anyone that's been kicked out of the program or that has had some type of tomfoolery happen as a result of them being involved in this student loan forgiveness program, tell them what they need to do. Have them come back and listen to the show. Coming up at 12 noon, we have Sensational Smooth Sunday. And as always, one love, one heart. Let's just be good humans and make our ancestors proud.